Lord children, lesson number 8, Glory. Bible portion is from Leviticus chapter 9. Memory verse is from Hebrews chapter 10 verse 14. For by one offering he has perfected forever those who are being sanctified. Theme of this lesson is when sins are removed, glory will appear. The people of Israel atoned for the sins by offering various kinds of sacrifices. Moses said to Aaron and the children of Israel, "Offer sin offering, burnt offering, and a grain offering, and the glory of the Lord will appear to you." In this lesson, you will learn about sin offering, burnt offering, grain offering in detail. Here in this picture you can see the offerings offered by people of Israel to God and Aaron to God. People of Israel offered sin offering, burnt offering, peace offering, grain offering to God. They offered a kid of the goats without blemish as sin offering, a calf and a lamb both of first year without blemish as burnt offering, a bull and a ram as peace offering, grain offering mixed with oil. Aaron offered sin offering and burnt offering. He offered a young bull without blemish as sin offering and a ram without blemish as burnt offering. The burnt offering was a daily offering. The offering animal could be an ox, lamb, goat, or a pigeon. The offering was brought as a gift for God and was burnt completely. The offering had to be male and without blemish. The person making the offering had to put his hand on the animal's head. It was a symbol of putting that person's sin onto the animal to be sacrificed. The person then killed the animal and the priest brought its blood to the altar. They had to sprinkle the blood on all sides of the altar. The person then cut the skin from the animal. The animal was then cut into pieces. The priest put wood and fire on the altar. They put the head, fat, and other pieces of the animal on the wood. The priest washed the inner organs and legs in water. They were then placed on the wood of the altar with all the other animal parts. The priest had to burn all the offering on the altar. It was a whole burnt offering made by fire. Its smell was pleasing to the Lord. If the offering was a dove or young pigeon, the priest had to wring off its head and burn it on the altar. The blood was wrung out on the side of the altar. The crop, a small bag inside the bird's throat where food is made soft before going into the stomach, and the feathers were thrown on the east side of the altar by the ashes. The bird was torn open by its wings but not divided into two parts. The offering was then placed on the wood on the fire of the altar and burnt completely. The grain offering. Grain offering was an offering that contained fine flour, oil, and frankincense. It was brought by people who could not afford to offer an animal as offering. The offering was made from fine flour and could be made into cakes or wafers. The fine flour was mingled with oil. The cakes or wafers could be baked, grilled, or fried. But the offering could not be made with yeast or honey, as these were forbidden to be burnt in an offering to God. Salt has to be put on all the grain offerings. Salt was a symbol of God's agreement with them that lasted forever. Salt could not be left out and had to be added. The offering was broken into pieces and oil added. Frankincense was then added. The offering was then brought to the priest, that is, the sons of Aaron. The priest took a handful of the offering covered with oil and frankincense and placed it on the altar to be burnt with fire. The remainder of the offering was for the priest. The grains from the first harvest had a special treatment. The corn was beaten out of the full ears. It was then dried with fire and roasted before being ground into fine grain. Oil and frankincense were added. The priest then burnt a memorial portion of the crushed grain and oil as an offering to God. Peace offering. The peace offering could be offered as a thanksgiving offering. A male or female animal was taken from the herd. It had to be an animal without blemish. The person bringing the offering laid his hands on the animal's head and then slayed it. The priest sprinkled the animal's blood upon the altar and around it. The animal was then cut and the fat and certain organs removed. This was placed on the top of the already burnt and meal offering. But what fat was to be burnt? It was the fat around the intestines, both kidneys and the fat around them, the liver and the fat around them. A lamb or goat could also be offered. The fat of a lamb was to be burnt on the altar, but what fat? It including the entire tail. The tail had to be cut off close to the backbone. Both kidneys and their fat, the oil and the fat around it, the intestine and the fat around it. When a goat was offered, the rules were the same. Both kidneys and their fat, the liver and the fat around it, the intestines and found around it. All the fat had to be burnt. None of the animal's fat or blood were to be eaten. The priest received the breast and right shoulder for himself and his children, and the offerer received the remainder of the animal to eat. However, it had to be eaten within 1 day if it was a thanks offering, or within 2 days if it was a voluntary offering. If any remained on the 3rd day, it had to be burnt. Then Aaron lifted his hands towards the people, blessed them, and came down from the offering, the sin offering, the burnt offering, and peace offering. And Moses and Aaron went into the tabernacle of meeting and came out and blessed the people. Then the glory of the Lord appeared to all the people, and fire came out from before the Lord and consumed the burnt offering and the fat on the altar. When all the people saw it, they shouted and fell on their faces. After Jesus Christ was crucified for us, He Himself sacrificed for our sins and forgave our sins. So we do not have to sacrifice. We must be saved from sins. Glory descends upon us when our sins are forgiven. We will attain glory. Thank you, children.